Kalijaga, Yogyakarta. The Faculty of Social Science and Humanities is one of the favorite faculties at Sunan Kalijaga State Islamic University. This faculty has 3 departments, namely Psychology, Sociology, and Communication Studies. It is one of the general faculties at the university which develop social science and Muslim societies through the lens of Islamic insight. Established in 2005, the faculty has produced outstanding intellectuals and professionals in their fields. Many facilities support student creativity both in the academic and non-academic field, including interactive centers, classroom, psychology reading rooms, audio-visual rooms, computer rooms, development laboratory, social laboratory, clinical laboratory, applied psychology center or APC, industry and organizations laboratory, sociology laboratory, public relations laboratory, advertising laboratory, studio room, mosque, libraries, and shady space outdoor. A wide range of activities for students is also interesting to get to know, including intra-campus student organization consisting of the Student Executive Council, Student Senate, Study Program Association, Sport Autonomous Body, Journalistic Autonomous Body, Al-Fatah Autonomous Body, and various student activity units. At the department level, annual activity are also held by students. Psychology Festival in Psychology Department and Expo of Sociopreneur in Sociology Department and Creative Advertising Festival in Communication Science. Many activities at the international level are also held regularly every year, including the annual International Conference on Social Science and Humanities and the International Jogja Youth Camp. All students are encouraged to actively participate in international events such as competitions, exchange programs, conferences, etc. The Faculty of Social Science and Humanities also has several journals. Among them are Journal of Integrative Psychology, Journal Sociology Reflective, Prophetic Journal of Communication. At the faculty level, there is the Kalijaga International Journal. Confidently, we always discuss innovation challenges to properly position ourselves amidst the social change and other developments in many sectors of life. We will keep producing young scholars contributing to society both on the national and global levels. Welcome to Faculty of Social Science and Humanities, State Islamic University, Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta. The Faculty of Social Science and Humanities is one of the favorite faculties at Sunan Kalijaga State Islamic University. This faculty has 3 departments, namely Psychology, Sociology, and Communication Studies. It is one of the general
Cek.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Rector of UIN Sunan Kalijaga Yogyakarta, Professor Dr. Phil Amakin SAG MA, the Honorable Professor Dr. Iswandi Syahputra SAG MSI, Dr. Phil Sahiron MA, Abdul Rozaki SAG MSI, as Vice Rector of State Islamic University Sunan Kalijaga, the Honorable Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, Dr. Muhammad Sodiq SOS MSI, along the staff, Chairwoman of Muslim and Global Affairs, Mrs. Ui Ardaninggar Luhtiyanti MA, and all of the lecturer, also audience as the participant on this event. My name is Yayang Trifatmah. It's a precious chance for me to be your master of ceremony on this annual agenda of short course Islam in Indonesia under the theme Understanding Everyday Life of Indonesian Muslim Society in Raising Social Solidarity. First of all, let's ask praise to the Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala that we have been graced by the chance to get in this momentous annual agenda. Praise and salutation upon our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has brought us to the path of the light from the darkness on this life. I would like to welcome our speakers today, Professor Dr. Judith Lee, as Professor Social and Cultural Anthropology at the University of Freiburg, German, Professor Dr. Hajah Siti Ruhaini Zuhiatin MA as Senior Advisor at the Executive Office of the Presidential Staff, and all of the audiences. Today we have several agendas as follows. First, opening. Second, reciting Holy Quran. Third, singing National Anthem and UIN's hymn. Fourth, opening speech from Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities. Fifth, keynote speech from Rector of UIN Sunan Kalijaga Yogyakarta. Sixth, the main event, and the last, closing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin this event by reciting Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you for reciting Basmalah. We move to the next agenda is reciting Holy Quran, who will be recited by Amar Ma'ruf. To Amar, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. يؤتي الحكمة من يشاء ومن يؤت الحكمة فقد أوتي خيرا كثيرا وما يذكر إلا أولو الألباب يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قيل لكم تفسحوا في المجالس فافسحوا يفسح الله لكم وإذا قيل انشزوا فانشزوا يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات والله بما تعملون خبير والله بما تعملون خبير صدق الله العظيم. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for reciting Holy Quran. The next agenda is singing national anthem and UN hymn for who will be conducted by creative team. For all of the audience in this room is asked to stand. Thank you. All attendees are welcome to sit back. The next agenda is opening speech from Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities to Dr. Muhammad Sodik, SOS MSI. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Rector UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Bapak Profesor Dr. Bill Amakin. Terima kasih Pak, sampun rawuh. The Honorable All Vice Rector, The Honorable All Deans and Vice Dean in UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta, The Honorable all Chairman and Chairwomen of Center of Study in UIN Sunan Kalijaga, all committee short course in Islam Indonesia 20 and 22, all speakers and all instructors in this day, Professor Dr. Siti Rohaini Duhayatin MA, Senior Advisor at the Executive Office of the President Staff, and Professor Dr. Judith Schil from the University of Freiburg, German. All participants will join online and offline. It gives me a great pleasure because the annual event Short Course Islam Indonesia 2022 has been held with very good preparation from all members of the Center for Study of MOGA and the committers, especially Mbak Wi Ardaninggar, Mbak Pipit, and teams. I also thank you for the interest and enthusiasm all for participants in this short course event who join online and offline. The short course has been held since 2018, and every year the interest of students, academic researchers, and practitioners is increased. This year, the numbers of participants is 125 people, consisting of academics and students from various universities and research institutions abroad, such as Taipei Medical University Taiwan, Center for Policy Research and International Studies, Saint Paris University Science Malaysia, Al-Bukhari International University Malaysia, Obafemi Awolowo University Nigeria. We also thank all of the instructors who have been willing to share their knowledge and perspective with the participants. To all online and offline participants, enjoy this event for 3 days. Finally, from my deepest heart, I do apologize for my mistakes. Thank you very much your kind attention and great enthusiasm. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. We are now continuing to the next agenda, that is to hear the keynote speech, which will be delivered by Rector of UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta. We also would like to request for Professor Dr. Phil Almakin, SAG, MA, to open this short course. To Professor Dr. Phil Almakin, SAG, MA, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahil khaliqil makhluqat, wassalatu wassalam ala khairil makhluqat wa ala alihi wa mawalah, amma ba'du. Dear Pak Dekan, thank you very much for lovely speech and very welcome. Thank you very much. And Ibu Vice Dean who attend in this great room, Ibu Dr. Yani and Ibu Dr. Sulis. Thank you very much, Ibu Sulis, who welcome me by coming pick me up in the front. Thank you very much for the kindness. And to the committee, Mbak Wi and Mbak Pipit. Thank you very much. And Ibu Muryani, Bu Puryani, and Pak Andri Rosati. Thank you very much. And all of the participants, either in this room or via online. Thank you for your commitment to attend and listen. And I would like to mention Ibu Siti Ruhaini Duhayatin, Ibu, who perhaps already online or not yet, but thank you very much for your commitment to our university, to always present in various events and seminars in our university. And Pak Fritz Schulz, is he online? Yeah, thank you, Pak Fritz. You just go home and then you have to attend again in our university. And I wish it is not boring for you. Of course not. And you have so many friends and colleagues here and some of your students too. And another guest is Professor Judith Slehe. Not attending in this conference, okay. And everybody who, also Pak Nurma Permata, our lecturers, thank you Pak Nurma for giving opportunity to learn from you once again. And Pak Zainal Arifin, also the head of the research center in LP2M, Institute of Research and Community Engagement. At the moment, I believe Pak Zain is still in Kaliurang to guide another program of LP2M. Pak Nur Ehwan, of course, is Pak Nur Ehwan online yet? Offline tomorrow. Thank you, Pak Nur Ehwan. Pak Uzair, is Pak Uzair online? Offline tomorrow. Okay, thank you, Pak Uzair. And everybody in this room, I cannot mention your name one by one. I think I should perhaps underline a few important issues when we talk about Islam in Indonesia. Firstly, I think it is very important is our willingness to learn other than Indonesian issues. Please check out my YouTube account. I have a full interview with Dr. Priyambuti Sulistianto. Anyone already check out my YouTube account? Okay, it's a good interview, good meet and greet program. I asked some, I think for me is important question, because Pak Budi Sulistianto, at the moment he's in Bali on the way to Flinders University, Australia. He's also friend to Pak Uzair and many of academia here in our university. Why he is very important and why that meet and greet in my YouTube program is also important, because he pay attention not only about us, not only about ourselves, not only about Indonesia and Islam in Indonesia, but he learned other language, which is Muang Thai and Thailand. So for his PhD dissertation, he wrote about Muang Thai, and yet for another research, he paid attention to Thailand, two countries in Southeast Asia. For some of us, or most of us, I may say, we want very much about our country, and we talk a lot and love very much about ourselves. Some title of dissertation, master program, which is thesis, and also scripsi, final assignment of undergraduate, always very fond of talking about our own. We talk about our own village, our own pesantren, our own religion, our own faith, And the interview for our research, perhaps also our parents, our uncle, our nephew, and perhaps ourselves. That is very typical Indonesian. Very much like about ourselves. So many dissertations, research dissertations, carried out inside our country and outside our country, in our university and other universities, in our country and abroad, talking about Indonesia. Indonesian theme research performed by Indonesian scholars. There are so many of it, millions, tons, abundance of Indonesian themes. I think we should try to switch little bit. Please talk not only about Indonesia, but other themes of non-Indonesia, like Pak Budi. It is very important to compare ourselves to others, particularly in the research area, in academic life. If we talk too much about ourselves, we narrow our mind. Our perspective will be very tiny. If we talk about others, we should also broaden our horizons. Please keep in mind that in academia, particularly in the Western world and also Islamic world in the past, they talk about other people. Some Western anthropologists and sociologists do research about world outside Europe, outside America, and including us. And to be very perfectly honest, Indonesian language, even our ethnic language like Madura, Javanese, Aceh, and Batak, mostly written by Western scholars, not by us. Recently, I read a status in Facebook by Uli Kozok. Yeah, maybe some of you already aware of his status. He's written in his wall about complain the way in which Indonesians produce papers in journal, what so-called predatory journal. The index of the journals is not a real one, but a rather fake, because they publish in one editions like more than 500 titles of papers. That is not good. That is not correct. And Uli Kozok is a German, and that is my point, not about his complaint in Facebook about the Indonesian predatory journal. That is also another issue. But our concern at the moment is the way Pak Uli Kozok, he is a German, but he loves Batak so much. So I may say Pak Uli Kozok, you can check out in Google or in YouTube or in Facebook, is the only scholar who can read and write a Batak ethnic scripts. He is very fluent, of course, in Bahasa Indonesia, and most importantly, he is very fluent in understanding and in reading Batak traditional ethnic script. Even Batak people now already forget how to write and read Batak traditional script. It's like Javanese letters. But Uli Kozok at the moment is the most authoritative person in the area of Batak. The point that I should stress here is that despite Pak Uli Kozok is a German by nationality and German by culture and German by language, he sacrificed his life to learn Batak, including the language, the script, the culture, the history, and many other things. That point, I think Indonesians mostly miss. We do miss. We have to acknowledge this. We have to confess this. So we Indonesians love Indonesia too much. We love our language so that we don't want to learn other languages. Pak Dekan is a very good example. I know Pak Dekan, his willingness to learn English, and we today listen to Pak Dekan speech delivered in English. It's excellent. Give him applause. We should appreciate. Learning is no border. Learning with no limitation. How old you are, you have to learn. And Pak Dekan set a good example. He's still willing to learn. And me too, I also take Pak Dekan as my example. The spirit of learning more. And once again, to return to our point, most of us do not want to learn something outside our culture. Either we are too lazy or we love too much. And I think the first is correct. We are lazy. We are lazy to learn English. We are lazy to learn other languages. And you, our students, are still very young. And this conference is good opportunity to listen to English and to practice English with your colleagues and friends. And I already cite this many times. I tell the same story about Duta Campus. You know Duta Campus a few weeks ago? They are very pretty and I love them. They are very handsome and make us very peaceful to see them. But they also speak foreign languages. Most of them, 20 finalists, speak English very well. And I was at the time very proud. And I am indeed still very proud of them. And the winners speak English and Arabic very well. The Miss Campus coming from Usuluddin. Yeah, and she speaks very fluent in English and in Arabic. That is a very good example. See, you can find examples to follow people around you. Don't find people that is not existent, or don't find something that is alien or far away like Erdogan. That is not good example. I see in Facebook status, in Twitter, they try to make something that is very far away to make idol, like Putin or Erdogan. Please find a good example among yourself, yeah, among your docent, among your lecturers, like Pak PJ. Pak PJ is very good in writing poems, and particularly when his heart is broken, when he still remember the past, when his love is rejected by girl, yeah, and he will write good poems. I know that because I did it too, yeah. Don't worry, Pak. So please find a good example around you. Find a positive thing around you, particularly our dear students. Like Bu Ruhaini. Bu Ruhaini is a good example. She's, of course, when she was young, she was very pretty and I admire her. I was a student at the time, but she's a fighter. She's a fighter, she never give up. And at the moment, she has a very good position in Jakarta as a staff of the president of Jokowi. Yeah. And Pak Dekan too is a very good example. One of a good thing about Pak Dekan is that he always put on a shirt that is my work, my batik. I like it. My batik. I draw that batik. I paint that batik. Yeah. That is good example. So please find a good example in our surroundings. Let us return again to our laziness, that we are lazy to learn other than ourselves. We are lazy to learn to come across our borders. Most of us even return to our own hometown, to our own village, or even to our own family. So for the title of dissertation, or for thesis, or for final assignment, skripsi, he talk about his own pesantren or her own pesantren, his own madrasah, his own village, and doesn't want to learn other languages than his or her mother tongue. Like Madurese people do research about Madura. Sundanese people do research about Sunda. Javanese people do research about Java. Indonesia is very big and is very rich. I came to Papua. Papua is Papua, of course, yeah. An island that is very rich with languages. In Papua, at least according to some researchers, there are at least 350 languages in Papua alone. And I noticed that very few, if any, Indonesians who learn Papua language. Most who come to Papua, coming from Minang, they sell makanan Padang, yeah, Padang food, yeah. Coming from Bugis, who settle in Minang, also do some business, and of course Javanese. There are so many Java people live in Papua, and they mostly do not speak one of these 300 languages of Papuan people. That is so pity of us. And likewise, it is very rare to learn Indonesians, to see Indonesian who also master or speak other languages their own mother tongue. See? It's very few I see Javanese speak Madurese. Of course, Madurese speak Javanese, that is a lot. And on the same way, like people coming from Sunda learn Javanese, there are a lot. But Javanese, very rare to speak Sundanese. I did very few because I used to have a girlfriend coming from Sunda. So that's why I learned Sundanese, yeah. And also Madura, I learned Madura, the same story. I used to have a girlfriend from Madura. It's very good to have a lot of girlfriends from different ethnicities, so that you learn other languages and you enjoy the food, yeah. I also used to live couple of weeks in Manado, and Manadonese girls are very pretty, but unfortunately I already got married, so I cannot fall in love. Although I fall in love, I try to hold myself, you know. I already married and I keep reminding myself, but I still enjoy. They walking on the street, particularly on Sunday, that is very lovely, yeah. They attend a church. They also gather in square in alun-alun in Manado or in the beaches. Very practical in Manado. I enjoy. So please learn something, at least Indonesians, not our own ethnic group. Please know each other. And if you can, please learn something, be culture or arts, language, system of democracy, politics. Learn something like that, but not Indonesia. Please try. It's very nice to learn something that is not inherent in us. We learn something, not always repeat the same thing of our knowledge. That is one thing. And the second point that I would like to deliver in this very good occasion with you is that we Indonesians, although love our Indonesia, is very little, too little to present ourselves in the world stage. Indonesia is very famous in Indonesia, not outside Indonesia. Please be aware of this. If you come to Australia, Indians people have more confidence to talk and to present themselves. If we come to United States of America, Chinese people have more opportunity and find their opportunity to present about Chinese. Our colleagues and friends coming from Middle East, when talk about Islam, they have self-confidence. Not in the Middle East, but in America, in Europe, in Australia. But Indonesia talk a lot about themselves inside the country and in their own forum, like in this university, like me today. But have very least or too little self-confidence when talk outside their country in the world forum, international level. You can listen to my podcast, yeah, with Pak Priyambuti Sulistianto. Yeah, how Indonesia always have a problem with representation in the world stage. That is our problem. So when you are still young, like Pak PJ already went to Turkey to study, and I'm sure he has a Turkish girlfriend. If you don't believe, ask him. Although he already has wife, maybe has a secret love. Yeah, we don't know. So please do like Pak PJ. Go outside. You students still young, please make big adventure. Please promise yourself not to limit yourself only to go to Gunung Kidul or Klaten. The world is very big. This world is very big. This world, the border, the eastern part is not Banyuwangi. But if you go far away, you will find America. And if you go west, you will find America again. Because the world is round, the world is globe. So everywhere you go, you will find Kaabah. Yeah? You go west, you find Kaabah. That's why you pray, you face west. But if you pray Zuhur and then you pray east, you still have to go to Kaabah too. It's no problem to face east and west. That is what the Quran says. Maghrib or Mashriq, la farqo bainahuma. Yeah. So if you face east, you face west, you will still face Kaabah. Yeah. Or if you face east or you face west, you will still face our university. So our university is the center of the world, like Kaabah too. Okay, please, our beloved students, please go abroad. At least to Australia, not to Malaysia. Malaysia is very cheap and it's very easy to go there. Last time I have opportunity to talk to LPDP scholarship grantee. And during our conversation, I always stress, please go somewhere with your LPDP scholarship to cities or a country that is the most difficult for you. If you can go without LPDP, for instance, to KL or Kuala Lumpur or to somewhere Thailand with your own package, don't plan to go there with your scholarship. Please go far away. Please go to Berlin, please go to New York, go to London. See, the world is very big. Ask Pak BJ if you don't believe me. Yeah, Pak BJ, do you still have a long relationship with your Turkish girlfriend? Please ask him. Yeah, he smile. It means yes. Or a different story. Already broken and his heart is broken, so that's why he's writing poems, yeah, to imagine his imaginary Turkish girlfriend. So please go abroad. Any one of you graduate S2 or S3? Please raise your hand in this room. No? All S1, yeah? S2? S2? Anyone S2? You S2? S2. Okay, if you already get a master degree, please plan for your S3, for your PhD program, or at least for fellowship before you die. Please promise to yourself before you die, visit a beautiful country. Otherwise, you will regret. Yeah, and you are still young. Please have adventure. Please have adventure. Okay, please return to our main topic of this workshop, promoting Indonesian Islam. Yes, Indonesian Islam needs promotion. As I said earlier, Indonesia is not well represented in the world stage. We need a good promotion. We need a good advertisement in the world stage. Our writings about Indonesia mostly in Bahasa Indonesia, not in English. Very little in English. Yeah? Please promise to yourself that you would later write about Indonesia in English or write something other than Indonesia in English. So there are two tasks in our mission. Firstly, to learn something other than Indonesia, and secondly, to present Indonesia in the world stage. And I think I already wrote about this in my book, yeah. Barat dan Timur. You remember? Thank you very much. I like you. Oke, Pak Dekan, and congratulations, Ibu Wakil Dekan, congratulations ya, panitia, congratulations and thank you for your hard work. And what is your name, Mas? Mas Agus, ya. Are you committee or? Oh, committee. Oh, thank you. Oh, you're a lecturer, young lecturer. Look like students. So, are you married? Oh, okay. Okay. So he's married. I give an announcement. He's married. So, PhD student. Okay, good. But he's married. Unfortunately, we cannot promote him. I'm looking for a single that I can become a broker. Usually, I'm a good broker and I'm a good mediator. Yeah. Many couple are very successful because of me. Yeah, I try to meet two different people and they get married, and I see them very happy and I'm very happy. That is my specialty. Okay, congratulations for this conference, all students. Oh, Bu Rohaini, thank you very much for your kindness. Oh, Prof. Judith, thank you very much, Ibu Judith, for your kindness. Please share your experience. Please do not hesitate to give your insight, your experience to our students here, to our lecturers in Sunan Kalijaga here. We are looking forward to your insight and your perspective. We are ready to heed all your advices. Okay, dear students, I think some of speakers, our guest speakers already attend via online. We welcome them with our warm hearts. Thank you very much to all of this, and thank you very much for your patience. And I think I'm funny because you laugh at me. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. Now we will hold a photo session to the keynote speech. The Dean and all of the participants are welcome to take a position. And for participants who are on Zoom, please prepare yourself. Kepada para peserta dimohon untuk berdiri untuk melakukan foto bersama. Thank you. Next, we will move to the main event, Circus Islam in Indonesia, under the theme Understanding Everyday Life of Indonesian Muslim Society in Raising Social Solidarity. The main event will be hosted by our moderator, Dr. Andi Rosadi M. The event is entirely left to the moderator. I would like to apologize if I have done any mistakes throughout the event. That's all from me. Thank you and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is International Short Course on Islam in Indonesia, held by Center for the Study of Muslim and Global Affairs, Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, Universitas Islam Negeri, Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta. The short course topic today is Understanding Everyday Life of Indonesian Muslim Society in Raising Social Solidarity. My name is Andi Rosadi. It is a great honor for me to be among you, to be a moderator of our short course today. I'll be with you for the next 2 hours. We have two distinguished instructors or speakers. I'm not sure whether they are already with us today. The first is Professor Siti Ruhaini Zuhayatin, and the second is Professor Judith Slay from Germany. The topic of this first session, the short course will be in 3 days, and the first session today is rethinking the role of Indonesian Muslim communities in raising social solidarity. Professor Siti Ruhaini will talk about this topic from a sociological perspective, and Professor Judith will talk from an anthropological perspective. I would like to greet the first Professor Siti Ruhaini.
Halo, Assalamualaikum.
Halo, Assalamualaikum Ibu. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. And also I would like to greet Professor Judith Slay. Hello. Hello, Professor Judith. Okay, she's not with us, and she'll be coming later, I think. And sudah. Okay. She's already with us, and okay, I would like also to inform you that our audience are lecturers, students, researchers from various universities. They are coming online and offline, and we would like to thank in advance for coming to this session. I don't want to talk a lot. Yeah. Now we can go to the first speaker, to Ibu Professor Siti Zuhayatin. Yeah. I would like to invite Ibu Siti Zuhayatin. Before we give the time to her, yeah, we would like to read her CV, her profile. Can someone help me to display her CV on the screen, please? Excuse me, I cannot read here. Yeah. Because of my sight, I cannot read her CV. So you may, yeah, look for yourself, yeah, help yourself to read the CV. Yeah. She is well-known scholar in Indonesia and I think the world. So she is very authoritative. I don't need to explain more about her CV. Yeah. Okay, I think enough. And we will give the time for 45 minutes to Ibu Siti Ruhayatin. And then the second speaker, spin instructor, Professor Judith, will come. Yeah. After these two speakers convey her talk, we will have 30 minutes question and answer. So, if you have questions, you may raise your hand, or you may type the question on the chat box in the Zoom meeting. Okay, I will read for you. Yeah, the questions to be listened by the two speakers. Yeah. Okay, now we move to the first session and we give the time to Professor Siti Zuhayatin to convey her talk. The time for you, please.
Thank you very much. I just want to check my voice. Is that clear enough? Hello?
Yeah, that's clear.
Director, is that clear
Yeah,
enough?
that's
my
clear.
voice?
Go ahead, please.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude and appreciations to the organizer, of course, to the rector of the UIN Sunan Kalijaga Yogyakarta, and also my my best colleagues and my brother, associate professor Muhammad Sodik, the deans of the Faculty of Humanity and Social Science, and also the hard work of the committee of this event, and as well as the moderator. And I would like also to express my thanks to Professor Judith Scheller for joining this afternoon session. And I hope that this session will be productive and will also be useful to fulfill what the Pak Rector expectations on how to introduce and how to raise the position of Indonesia and also the position of moderate Islam Indonesia to the world. And of course, I would like also to express my thanks and my happiness to join this event from Gedung Binagraha, Istana Merdeka. And I hope that I would be able to share with you some of my notes based on the experience on my position, as also mentioned by the moderator about my short CV. So maybe I would like to note on three things that I've done so far. One is, of course, I am the lecturer in the Faculty of Syariah and Law, UIN Sunan Kalijaga. But currently, I serve as the senior advisor to the Executive Office of the President, Republic of Indonesia in Jakarta. And before that, I was the special staff to the President of Republic Indonesia. And the third that maybe worth to mention here, that from 2012 to 2018, the representative of Indonesia for the Commission for Human Rights Commission of the Organization of Islamic Cooperations, the headquarters is in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. 2012 and 2014, I was the chair, and I was the first chairpersons of the commissions of human rights to the OIC, or to the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. So the three things, I mean the three backgrounds, might be useful to all of us in discussing and deliberating things that is expected from my side. So please, moderator, allow me to share my presentation. Yeah, please allow me, because I'm still disabled. Oh, okay, okay. Okay. So the title or the themes of my presentation here is Islam, Indonesia, and Solidarity: Prospect and Challenges for Building a Civic Global Harmony. So excuse me. So somebody is operating my presentation, or I will operate this myself. Moderator, can you inform me?
Yeah, yeah, udah.
Okay.
We,
All right.
we allow you to operate your presentation.
Okay, but unfortunately, I don't think that okay, let me. I think I have a problems of operating from here.
Yeah. So, apa?
Can somebody help me for this?
Okay, panitia kan?
I
Okay.
think somebody
Excuse
is
me.
operating. Somebody is operating my PowerPoint, right?
Yeah.
As Bagas
Excuse me.
Pramudias.
Could you please allow the committee to share your PowerPoint? Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So please go to the next slide, please. All right. So I would like to begin this presentation and and the discussions on global solidarity. So is the global solidarity at the stake? Yeah. So if we follow what's happening in the world today, that we actually have the big concerns on how global solidarity now is undermined by some of issues, yeah, that is also undermines what believe to be the best mechanism to solve the problems. Yeah, one is we witness the political polarization that has torn the world due to the resurgence of politicization of identity. Of course, we also suffer here in Indonesia, and also Professor Judith will also enlighten me on what's happening in Europe and United States, and I think all over the world, that the politicization of identity is now in rising now. The politicization of identity is the religious nationalist fanatism, ethno-religious sentiment, and also racial discrimination, xenophobia, etc. So what's happening in Indonesia, of course, we also witness the re-emergence of ethno-religious sentiment, that used to for political gain and political interest, reflected, for example, in the general election 2019. And we also witness what's happening in India on the Hindu nationalist movement. Yeah? And of course, we also have witnessed some of xenophobia, including also Islamophobia, including also anti-Semitism. And this is now in raising. And second is the tendency of the unipolarism that has undermined multilateral mechanism led by United Nations in initiating peace, dialogue, and resolution. For example, what's happened now in the conflict of Russia and Ukraine, instead of using multilateral mechanism in which Security Council might have the strategic roles, the allies, I mean, like the Ukraine allies, is strengthened by European Union, NATO and European Unions, and Russia on the other side also attract other proxy to this conflict, for example, Iran and also China. So this is it's add also to what's happening recently in our global level. And the third is the politicization of humanity during the pandemic, on the vaccine conspiracy, for example, on how vaccine is not equally shared during the pandemic, especially for the countries who produce the vaccine. And the consequences is that poor countries, of course, suffer the most of this kind of conspiracy. And also the abuse of human rights for political interest, the selectivity and pick and choose of human rights issues to become the means of humiliation, the means of shaming. It is also arising right now. And finally, we also witness on the political tension among Muslim countries. For example, in Palestine, the issue between Hamas and Ramallah, and Fatah, for example, it is also adding also to the jeopardized of solidarity. And we also witness on the global allies as well as the domestic political contestations in Syria, Yemen, Afghanistan, and maybe in other part of Muslim countries. So all of this is actually adding to the threats of the global solidarity that really need our attention and need our initiatives. Next slide, please. Now, political polarization. I'm talking here about the substantive elements that might disturb our global solidarity or the national solidarity or even the social solidarity. So the moderator mentioned about the approach that I'm supposed to use in this presentation, and I'm not sure whether I will consistently stick on the social approach, or I might be back and forth between social and political. But back to the political polarization that we witness today, we have to differentiate between political polarization and affective polarization. Political polarization is in fact a rational different political ideologies and policy approaches within within the state constitution. So political polarization in the observation of Gordon Helstall and Laren Christine is positive. So political polarization is the indicative of the healthy democracy as opposed to the uniparty system, uniparty political system. But what has to be seriously investigated and seriously discussed is affective polarization, because this affective polarization is negative and detrimental to democracy. So political polarization is plausible and acceptable in a healthy democracy, but affective polarization, it has to be curbed, or we have to work on this, because affective polarization is negative and detrimental to democracy because of its inherent dislike, distrust, and hatred of others, based on race, based on faith, based on ethnicity, or maybe also based on gender and based on the disability, which prevent rational contestation to prevail. So affective polarization divides society and undermines social solidarity. Yeah, and the social solidarity is the substantial element in maintaining and nurturing social cohesion of the multicultural and pluralistic society like Indonesia. Yeah. So I just want to highlight this, that we have to differentiate between political polarization and affective social polarization. What we have to be aware of is actually the affective social polarization, which is actually bad to democracy. Next, please. Okay, so why solidarity matters? So solidarity of fraternity is the soul of modern democracy. Although it provides the concept of majority rule, but still it's coupled with what is called a consensus for equal rights and justice for the minority. And solidarity is the fundamental principle in multicultural and pluralistic society, in ensuring the protection of minority and vulnerable groups like the minority in race, faith, ethnicity, gender, and disability. And also solidarity of fraternity is also the basic principle of humanity enshrined in the Universal Declaration, mostly um, uh, uh, declared or mostly established by United Nations, as well as the national constitution, and otherwise majoritism profiles. So what we have to be aware of is actually the tendency of majoritism. But solidarity and fraternity is actually, I will repeat again. So solidarity or fraternity is actually the basic humanity that we have to maintain in order to prevent majoritism prevailed, because majoritism tends to dominate and tend to impose power over the minorities. So that is actually the essential roles of solidarity in the country like Indonesia, where multicultural and plurality is the social reality, and as well as the political challenges. Next, please. All right. So this is actually the question related to extend to the extent that solidarity in Indonesia is possibly contributes to the global peace and harmony. So my first question is: does Indonesia ever exist without solidarity? How solidarity prevailed in nation state building, and what challenges faced by the Indonesian or the Indonesian Muslim in nurturing social solidarity, and what Indonesia could offer to the global peace and harmony, which I will explain in the next slide. Please. Okay, this is actually um, their historical backgrounds on how solidarity played very pivotal roles in national state building. Indonesia declared as the independent nation state in 17 August 1945. Yes, which consists of all the things that we are familiar with. And the Muslim or the solidarity yield here in Indonesia, the solidarity yields from the moderation process in national building process. That is transforming Islam as an ethno-religious identity in the past, which was inclusive, collective sentiment, and mono-existent. I will give the example for example from Minangkabau. So Minangkabau is the example on how Islam blends into what it's called ethno-religious identity. Islam is part of their um, uh, uh, ethnic identity. And we can also refer to Hindus in Bali, where ethno-religious Hindu is actually the identity of the ethnics in Bali. So, of course, we also have the Christians' ethno-religious identity, and the North Sulawesi and their other parts of Indonesia, especially in the eastern parts of Indonesia. So before the independence, so all of their ethnics uh, they they had such ethno-religious identities, but in the process of nation state building, all the collective sentiment is transformed. It's transformed into modern ethics and values which are underlying the emergence of modern society and democratic system in Indonesia. So we are very grateful and we are blessed to have the process of a nation state building in a moderate way, so that then we can share our identity across the race, across the nation, across the ethnicity, across religion, and we should be very proud to become part of Indonesia today, and we hope that we will nurture this in the future. So go to the next page, please. Yes. So this is actually the evidence of the good shape of solidarity in Indonesia. Of course, we have some challenges as well. So Indonesia is encouraged by world leaders to take stronger leadership in promoting moderate Islam in the view of strengthening global solidarity. So I serve now in the office of the president, and we are requested by our president to provide him with analysis, with the provide him with the possibility that Indonesia will take strong leadership in the global level, as we witness today that our president is opening their very prestigious and very important event of G20 in Bali, and of course, and before that, our president is receiving the leadership, the ASEAN leadership for 2020 23, and and Indonesia have also strategic role in strengthening global solidarity. One is the presidency of G20 encourage the world to recover together from the pandemic. So the global solidarity for access to vaccine and health infrastructure is strongly encouraged by Indonesia in this presidency. And this is only the example. And also Indonesia is the most democratic Muslim country, which can be the model for other Muslim countries in managing solidarity in diversity. Because we witness also from the media that many Muslim countries now is still struggling on how to establish peaceful and as well as a convenient place to live, where the solidarity is very important, because solidarity and diversity means respecting different traditions, be different religious tradition or different culture within a country, and it has to be respected as the blessed for the ummah. Yeah, because our prophet, peace be upon him, saying that the differences is actually rahmah. Yeah, so differences is actually the blessing for the ummah. And also we have to also give the example to other colleagues in the Muslim countries that they have to work together to build a peaceful country, and of course a good governance in those countries based on similarities. So they have to put aside of differences, but they have to go together, working together towards similarities. So this is actually that the philosophy that we have in Indonesia in responding to the diversity in unity in Indonesia, that we respecting the differences, but we are working together in similarities in order to ensure that justice and equality is guaranteed here in Indonesia. And next, please. How many more minutes do I have, moderator, Mr. Moderator?
Yes, you may go ahead with 5 more
All right.
minutes.
So religious diversity, yes, so religion is the basis of solidarity and diversity, is the solid historical heritage here in Indonesia, which is respected and celebrated for quite a long ago. Yeah. And we also blessed that Islam as a major religion is less Arabized, culturally and politically. Indonesia is not part of any Islamic kingdom from the Middle East. It is why then we can't avoid, I mean, the tension, the sectarian tension that often trigger conflicts and wars. Of course, we have a minor conflict in here in Indonesia, but I think we are still lucky that we can cope with all the conflict because of our sense of solidarity. In Indonesia, we are succeeded in establishing the modern religious organization as transformative agencies from ethno-religious sentiment into civic values underlying nationalism and modern governance. Parallelly, that is that religious moderation is unifying and integrating factor for the highly diverse and plural Indonesia. Next, please. So I think we have to be very grateful with all the blessing, as I mentioned earlier. But however, we have to also be very mindful and very aware of the challenges for our social solidarity. The first is within the last 10 years that we experience political and economic dynamic here in Indonesia, which often leads to the rise of affective polarization, as I mentioned earlier, pervaded whereby religion often used for raising public agony and social injustice. And that is occurred in the time of crisis where ethno-religious sentiment is rising. Yeah, particularly, for example, in the western part of Indonesia, it is quite often targeting Christian Chinese minority who were suspected to dominate the economic sector, and often also allied coalitions with the political leaders as well. And conversely, in the eastern part of Indonesia, Muslim minority is similarly undergoing discrimination from the Christian majority. So this is also the ample challenge that we have to face, and we have to take care of. And we also it is also worsened by the political decentralization into 1998, which resurface. I mean, it's like the sentiment of the ethno-religious for political interest of the local elites. So that is also the biggest challenge in Indonesia. So the impact of such a challenge will be in the next slides, please. Now, so I think I would like to end because I think I still have so many slides to talk, but I think I would like to explain this slide, and then I will end by presenting what is actually can be contributed to the global solidarity. So what I've been discussing is actually the modality for us to nurture harmony and solidarity. Yeah. Because here in Indonesia, we are lucky to have the modern organizations such as NU, Muhammadiyah, Persis, and other mainstream organizations, which are, as I said, as I mentioned earlier, the strategic agent in transforming Islam as the public virtues. And we also have the civil resilience against the polarization of religion. I mean, in 2019, for example, Muhammadiyah, NU, and other mainstream organizations declared for not using Islam or for not using religion as a political means, yeah, to gain the political domination after the general election. So that is actually the modality that we have in order to nurture a solidarity and creating harmony in Indonesia. Please go to the last slide of my presentation. No, before this. Okay, this one is actually our contribution to the global harmony. One is the stability of Indonesia is the key to ASEAN region, and this is our responsibility to make Indonesia stable, yeah, in order also to stabilize Asian region. And beyond that, Indonesia is also contributing to the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, where I mentioned earlier that I used to be the chairperson of one of the subsidiary body in that organization. Thus, the stability of Indonesia as the biggest Muslim in the world and the most democratic Muslim countries is actually also the modality of this organization in the multilateral interaction. Secondly, maintaining religion under civil autonomy, to the independent religious organization, with less state intervention will also be the model for the other Muslim countries in creating moderate and inclusive interaction and relatively peaceful life where solidarity can be nurtured. And the last is the resilience against religious populist resurgence, which is detrimental to the social solidarity. Is also the ample example of the compatibility Islam with modernity and democracy. So these three aspects that I mentioned in the last presentation is expected to be the contribution of Indonesia to the global harmony. So I may end my presentation here, and I give back the opportunity and also the times to the moderator, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Siti. We do enjoy your presentation, concise, clear, but elaborative. Yeah, I know that, and I do believe that all of you, all participants, online and offline, have some question to be asked, but we do it later after the second presentation. Yeah. And I don't, because of the time, I don't want to summarize. Yeah. However, there is some important point. Although all the points are very important for us, but there is some like affective polarization that should be highlighted because it gives very negative impact to our solidarity, and also how solidarity serves as the main element, core element of the nation building in Indonesia. Okay, and the second instructor is Professor Judith Shraya. Hello, Professor Judith. How are you? Yeah, is this morning or afternoon in Germany? Yeah, yeah. Okay. Excuse me, we cannot listen your voice. Yeah, excuse me, Professor Judith, we cannot listen your voice. Yeah, yeah. Can you please try whether we can listen to your voice?
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, that's very clear. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
So, hello from a rainy morning in Freiburg, Germany. I'm very sorry that I cannot join you, but I hope that we will have another opportunity next year.
Yeah, hopefully you can visit us here in Yogyakarta. Yeah. Okay, before I give you the time for presentation, I would like to show your CV first for the audience. Yeah, and can the committee help me to show the CV for? Yeah. 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 Professor Judith Schreier is an anthropologist. Yeah, a very authoritative anthropologist, especially in her specialties in Indonesia. And this afternoon in Indonesia, morning in Germany, will deliver her presentation about 45 minutes. Yeah, and then we go to the next session, question and answer. Please, Professor Judith, for 45 minutes. Thank you in advance.
Thank you so much. I think this was not the CV, but it doesn't matter. You can check it on the homepage yourself. I just would like to mention that I have been visiting Indonesia regularly since 81. So nearly 40 years, and I conducted fieldwork mostly in Java, but also in other parts of Indonesia as well. And I love this country, and I also love to collaborate with Indonesian colleagues and students. And I think I'm quite happy to share the model that we developed. When I'm saying we, I mean the colleagues from the Department of Anthropology at Gajah Mada University and our department. We initiated a collaborative model of doing fieldwork exercises, which is really reciprocal in the sense that 1 year we, a group of German students, visit Yogyakarta, and they do fieldwork exercise together with Indonesian students. And the next year they come to Freiburg, to Germany, and again as an intercultural or cross-cultural team, they do fieldwork then on Freiburg, on German culture and society. And this reciprocity and collaboration is something that we should extend and that we should continue in future, because I think the model of doing fieldwork as a lonely hero should be something of the past, and we should do everything to bring different perspectives together. But today I'm very grateful that I have been invited and that I can share some thoughts with you. And yeah, as I said already, I'm sorry that I cannot be with you in presence. We all suffer from this Zoom model, but on the other hand, it's also good not to pollute the environment by having long flights just for a short talk or for a conference. So I think doing it via Zoom, although we miss to meet each other personally, also has some advantages. And that brings me also to my talk, my today's presentation, which fits very well, I think, with the presentation of Bu Ruhaini that we just listened to, because she was talking about solidarity and fraternity, which is so urgently needed for both Indonesia and the global world, and for reorient this polarization that we experienced in some parts of the world in recent years. We should overcome that, and we should find new ways to collaborate, not only in scholarly contexts, but in all social contexts. So I try to share my screen now. Can you see it? Can you see the
clear.
the shared screen? Yeah, okay. So I'm talking from the perspective of social-cultural anthropology, and basically I will reflect a bit on concepts that we tend to take for granted, but that I want to problematize. Then, of course, I will mention my central question. I will give a few examples and some ideas of possible application, and conclude with some thoughts that are, as I said already, basically very similar to what Bu Ruhaini just explained so clearly. So basically, reflecting about the title of this conference, I would like to ask the question, solidarity with whom? So who is included when we talk about social solidarity? And what is the social? Is it just we? Is it just humanity? Are it just human beings? Or would we also include the relationship to other entities, to other beings, to other makhluk? So the creation and maintenance of relationships, of how we relate to others, not only other humans, but also other living and perhaps even non-living beings, is a paramount value. So therefore, I propose, or I suggest, to understand social relations and social solidarity in an extended sense, to include not only humans, but also non-human living beings. So that would extend the task to reimagine subjectivities, sociality, and cultural formations, and provide alternatives to the current environmental destruction. So when Bu Ruhaini talked about solidarity, she referred to our common understanding of solidarity between humans, between or within both the local and the global society, the society consisting of human beings. So we humans think we are the center of the universe, and I would like to suggest that we at least think of extending that and thinking of solidarity in that extended sense, to reimagine solidarity and think of solidarity that includes also the environment and all the other beings that are there, probably not only the seen ones, but we could also think of the unseen, the invisible ones, the ideas of transcendent beings. So basically, that refers to ontology. I hope that you are familiar with that term. Ontology means the ways of experiencing and understanding the world, the ways how we think that reality is made of, what is real, and what kind of relations do we have to different kinds of beings that make up the cosmos. So the cosmos does not only consist of us humans, but also of animals, of plants, perhaps also of spirits, and perhaps of deities and God. So however we imagine and conceptualize the beings that constitute the cosmos, not only the planet, but the cosmos in general, that is how we think that reality is made and constructed. So ontology refers to our understanding of the world, the planet, and the cosmos, what we think is real. This is something that differs in different cultural contexts, and therefore today we are talking about plural ontologies, like Bu Ruhaini already indicated before. So the different ideas about the cosmos and cosmologies, of course, are different in different world religions, and most world religions tend to assume a divide between nature and culture, between non-human and human, or between man, humanity, and God. Whereas in many local beliefs, in local belief systems that are often or have been often designated as animist beliefs, there is not always, but often a transgression, an overcoming between humans and animals, or humans and spirits. There is not a clear divide or boundary, but there are many ideas that indicate that there are possibilities of transgressing these divides, of overcoming it. Humans and animals, or humans and spirits, are not necessarily always completely divided or completely different. And this has been manifested in local rituals of all kinds, and for example, also in many community festivities in Indonesia, in Java, where I have been doing most of my research, and of course also in many other parts of the world. So the basic question for this presentation is, how can a human ecological balance and social solidarity be enhanced by learning from myths or mystical beliefs, even from magical practices and rituals, and from spiritual or animistic cosmologies, as well as certain pop cultural tendencies? So that might sound very abstract and perhaps a bit more philosophical, but I hope that I can explain, or at least indicate, how or what that means for social solidarity, for the idea of solidarity, and also for the environmental crisis that we are facing all over the world. So just to make it a bit more lively, I wanted to share a pop cultural depiction of the Legenda Nyi Blorong. Maybe some of you know that I have been doing research on Ratu Kidul, the what is now often said to be a legenda as well. I think it has been a belief system, a local belief system that is still very dynamic and lively, and we could discuss if Nyi Loro Kidul or Ratu Kidul is a relative of Nyi Blorong or not, or if this is a new creation, but that doesn't really matter for today's talk. What I wanted to say is that we have many, many examples, both in classical mythology in Java and in modern pop cultural movie contexts, in the mystical YouTube videos that you find now everywhere in the internet, that indicate the idea that a human body and an animal body can become one, that there is a transgression between humans and animals in that sense of conceptualizing and visualizing spiritual or spirit beings, makhluk halus, who can be seen as benevolent, as good, or helpful, or supporting human beings, or as threatening, so they are often very ambivalent figures. We do not have that only in Java or in Indonesia. We also have it in, for example, in the Greek mythology, where we have a male upper body with a body of an animal. So we find that everywhere. I just brought these two illustrations with me to talk about these ideas of transgression, where there is no sharp boundary between life forms that indicates a basic unity of life, and that indicates also a bit as a contradiction to what I said about the world religions, who that always divide between nature and culture, between God and humans, and whereas these ideas of transgressions indicate that there is no above or no hierarchy or no outside of nature. We are all parts of nature. We, our bodies and also our souls are part of the natural environment. So the quite up-to-date or fashionable multi-species anthropology or ethnography, which is highly debated in my discipline in anthropology, now says that we should decenter anthropos, the idea that humans are in the center of the world should be decentered, should be problematized. We should emphasize relatedness, solidarity, entanglement. We are all together. Radical interrelatedness between nature and culture, humans and other than humans, including not only living but also non-living entities or entities that we cannot clearly categorize. For example, the virus or the microbes that we discussed during the pandemic. Are they living beings? Are they our enemies? Or are they also part of nature that we should relate to? Or the elements, the climate, of course, as something that we see now as something that also has an agency, that is also acting autonomously or depending on the actions of humans. This is another question. So in recent approaches, this is more theoretical, in recent approaches we talk about a network between actors, the ones who have agency, and that includes not only the living beings, but even the non-living beings. That leads to new materialism. We are also communicating in a reciprocal manner with, for example, our handphones or our computers. So ethnography and anthropology and the social sciences in general should focus more on different species, on all kinds of beings, living and non-living. We should also reflect more on different and plural ontologies of many ways to understand reality and to conceptualize reality, what is real and who and what is included. And in the context of Anthropocene anthropology, we are dealing in a very critical way with all these destructive actions that humanity is responsible for, that threatens or even destroys many parts of the environment and of the planet. So basically, we are not talking about a universe anymore, but about a pluriverse. Not only this one universe, but many ideas of reality and of agency, where humans are agents among others with whom we are intrinsically connected. We are part of nature. And just to make you familiar with another idea, we could even talk or speculate that perhaps in future, not only anthropos is and humans are determining what happens in the world. Perhaps in the future it will be also, or it will be even more microbes or viruses that determine how the planet is constituted. So there could be in future, instead of an Anthropocene, a microbiocene. But this is just a speculation and also a warning. So the planetary health approach examines these interrelationships between human health, political, economic, and social contexts, as well as the natural systems of our planet. So health in the very broad sense, not only being free of diseases, but living in a healthy environment, leading a good life, and that cannot be separated from ontology, from understanding the world, and it cannot be separated from political, economic, and social structures. And we need to initiate scholarly or scientific knowledge that also leads to transformative action in the sense that Bu Ruhaini has indicated, that needs not only scholarly engagement, but also political engagement, both on the stage of political action and in our everyday politics, in the way we deal with each other and in the way we treat or we relate to the environment. So that brings me to a few remarks on the Javanese conceptualizations that I think we could reflect on concerning the recent experience with the pandemic, with the COVID-19 pandemic, where I think we could also learn from the classical or so-called traditional understanding of the Javanese local systems, the idea of pagebluk, the idea of an epidemic was not only something that had to do with biomedicine or with the idea of a virus entering a human body. It was related to natural disasters. It was related to morality, and it was related or is related to politics, in the sense that pagebluk or epidemics or even pandemics is seen as something that is connected to nature. It is a natural disaster, and it can go hand in hand with environment catastrophes if it indicates that humanity gets a warning from a transcendent sphere. That can be spirits, it can be Allah, it can be other ideas and conceptualizations of deities and gods. It is a warning from another sphere that is expressed by disturbances, not only of human bodies, but of the planet, of nature in general, and that can also have to do with mistakes or with bad deeds that are seen or that are identified in politics. So the idea of healing in Java has also to do with minorities and with certain actors that are now often discriminated against and that are now often seen as people who are superstitious and who are labeled in a very discriminatory sense. the traditional, so-called traditional dukun, the traditional healers, and their modern urban successors, the people that are or have been labeled as paranormal or supernatural or supranatural, these healers who go beyond the biomedical system and who relate to other transcendent beings, they have been seen as sirik or mushrik. They are seen as people who are just cheating people, who are only doing it for money or for material benefit. And let me mention that I'm sure that there are many cases where this is part of their intention, that people are not free from commercial or material greediness, and that they are not all people whom we should admire in an uncritical manner, but we should at least think of what is behind this conceptualization and what is behind their offers. And this is often that they relate it to another kind of understanding the cosmos, another ontology that includes these ideas of transgression, that includes the idea of relations to spirits. And they used other media to symbolize that and to make contacts and to materialize these relations. They used offerings, they used sesajen in a very sensual and emotional and, as Bu Ruhaini also said, affective manner. Whereas now, as we have this increasing Islamization, in the sense that there is only one right way to relate to the transcendent world, there is an increasing discrimination against other local belief systems, and that goes hand in hand with what I would call scientification, that especially biomedical approaches that have gained a lot from the pandemic leads to a discrimination of traditional healing systems, of traditional conceptualizations of what life is and what a good life means. And also going together with individualization, because these rituals that often included a community, that often included at least the family, that they are often reduced to healing of just an individual who consults a medical doctor. So the idea of, for example, Bersih Desa, that integrated the whole community and that had a spiritual component because it related people to, on the one hand, their ancestors, but at the same time also to certain trees or certain places in the landscape. All these ceremonies and festivities have been transformed, or I would say reduced to just cultural events. In the very folkloristic manner, it's just folklore, it's just culture. There is no deeper meaning connected to it anymore. It's just a colorful event basically staged for tourists, both domestic and international tourists, and to attract people. And it is highly commodificated. It's highly commercialized in the sense that it is basically done for a branding or of a village or of a certain region. So I come to my conclusion because I would like to suggest that a unity, or the idea of a unity of living beings, can find symbolic expression in mythical or mystical or transgressive figures that are in between polar opposites. So let me emphasize once more that I'm not suggesting that everybody should consult paranormal or supernatural, or that everybody should romanticize or idealize local spiritual beliefs or local spiritual systems, but we should reflect on their value and what they express, what we can see behind them, if we see them as symbols or symbolic expressions of an overcoming, of a transcending, seeing them as transcending entities, such as spirits or mixed creatures, as you have seen on that picture of the Greek or of the Javanese mythology. Transgression, hybridization, bringing together also indicates the idea of a basic unity of life and of all beings. And that can remind us of this interrelatedness of nature and culture, of humans and other than humans. If we both understand cognitively and feel in our hearts that there is this basic unity of life and of beings, and if we can manage to create more livable, more just, more equal social, political, ecological, and religious or ontological structures, then a good life for all creatures can be achieved, not only for humans, but for all beings, because humans cannot exist without nature and the environment. So another conclusion is that social solidarity means acknowledgement and understanding of a pluriverse that is basically very similar to what Bu Ruhaini said. That means tolerance, that means openness, that means an understanding of relatedness, of interconnectedness, which would lead to what is now often termed or designated as environmental sustainability. So I think the role of Indonesian Muslim communities in raising social solidarity could be, and I would dare to say, should be to counter, to work against, to criticize all kinds of repressive state power that enforces particular conceptions of religious truth, repressive power structures that discriminate against minorities, that would say that, for example, paranormal or supernatural healers are identical with what is designated as blasphemy, as something against religion. I would rather say that social solidarity integrates solidarity with nature and the environment and also with all social groups that have different ideas of what is real and how our world is made of. So these are just a few references, and of course you can find many more references in the working paper or in the occasional paper that you find on this list. And of course, I'm looking forward to the Q&A and our discussion. So this is all from my side as a presentation, and I hope we can continue soon in talking to each other.
Great. Thank you very much for Judith. Yeah, it looks like that I am listening to philosophy or listening to wisdom, from you. There are so many points that we can discuss here. And the first one that the great point is there is a basic unity of life. So if we talk about solidarity, we should expand the meaning of this solidarity. It is not limited only to relation among human beings, but also including another element of life in this nature. It is so similar with what Professor Rohani explained before, and we have so many questions here. Would you like me to read for you, or you may read directly in the chatting room? Yeah, Professor Rohani and Professor Judith. Yeah.
I think, better that you summarize for us.
Okay.
What was better? Yeah.
Yeah. The first is question for Professor Judith. How can anthropo-ethnographical perspective be a solution to a crisis that is on the verge of being critical? This is for Professor Judith. And for Professor Rohaini, in Indonesian language ya. Bagaimana membangun solidaritas di tengah polarisasi dan kontestasi politik di Indonesia, khususnya bagi ormas-ormas di Indonesia. Yeah. After these two questions, I will read another question. Thank you. Yeah. The first for Professor Judith and then to Professor Rohaini. Please.
Thank you. Of course, I do not want to exaggerate the relevance of my discipline. I think social science in general could contribute to a new consciousness, a new awareness, a kesadaran about what should be the philosophical and the basis of our political activities. And when I'm referring to political action, I would not only talk about government and that again would include not only the national government, but also governance in a transnational manner, as you now have it in Bali in these days. But I would also include the politics of everyday life, something that includes all of us, because we are not just the victims, or not just the passive beings that have to obey to what the politicians are doing or the religious experts are saying. We are all responsible, we are all integrated, and our everyday activities are an important contribution to the understanding and the dealing with the world. So on the one hand, of course, we should struggle and engage in improving political structures and improving the environmental protection that is so urgently needed. But on the other hand, or at the same time, we should also reflect on our personal solidarity, not in the sense that I'm responsible for, but in a deeper sense, I'm connected with the environment and other beings, other human beings, or even other non-human entities like the climate or even material things. So seeing politics not as something that is far away or above us, but something that we are integrated in, and seeing responsibility not only as responsibility for other humans, but also responsibility of conceptualizing and feeling this connectedness to other entities. How would you say that in Indonesian? Kita merasa hubungan dengan apa saja yang hidup. Something like this is already a political action. So perhaps just as a start of, and I'm happy if you contradict me and if we have a real discussion, and I'm happy to also be criticized, or let's just go on. Perhaps Bu Haini wants to continue.
Excuse me, Bu Ruhaini, before I give the time for you, maybe I have to refer to the one who asked this question, Mas Dito in Taipei. Yeah. Excuse me, Mas Dito, are you with us?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm here.
Yeah. Do you want to talk or to comment something to Professor Judith's answer?
Yes. Actually, I understand and I agree with you, Professor Judith. But the philosophical beyond my question is what the science of anthropoethnographies can be solutive, or can be the best strategies to overcome the simulacra in the digital era. That is the beyond of my question, Professor. Could you comprehend your explanation again, Professor, please? Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying. You want to know more about the contribution of anthropology, of social cultural anthropology. And that gives me an opportunity, of course, to talk about my discipline, social cultural anthropology. That, of course, is a very dynamic field. And as I tried to explain in that presentation, in recent years, we started to understand that we should not only focus on anthropology, which just the name anthropology refers to anthropos, to the human being. We should see the human being as part of the environment, not only being the actor working on the environment, but being part of the environment. And what I wanted to suggest with this presentation is that as anthropologists, we can also learn from different ways to conceptualize reality. So that's what I mean with ontological, or what my discipline means with an ontological turn. I personally, I'm not 100%, I do not 100% agree with the so-called ontological turn, because there is a tendency to idealize or to polarize again between so-called modern ontologies and so-called traditional ontologies. I think it's much more fruitful if also other disciplines gain or learn from anthropology to know about a pluriverse, to know about different ways to conceptualize reality and the world and beings, living beings, to know about it, to juxtapose it, to be more aware of the value of different belief systems or different conceptualizations of the world. But we should not do that in an uncritical manner. Of course, also in so-called traditional systems, there are critical aspects, like, for example, hierarchies, gender hierarchies, or inequalities. So not everything that is designated as traditional is automatically good or ideal. So as social scientists, we should be always critical, both towards modernity and towards so-called tradition. This difference or this polarization is again something we try to overcome because it's just made or constructed by certain scholarly approaches. We now know that again these concepts are closely interrelated, and what I wanted to say is that is so important that we are aware of different ways to conceptualize life, basically, and life is relatedness, and relatedness has to do with solidarity, with inclusion and exclusion. And I think anthropology can share its knowledge with other disciplines to make us all more aware of different ways to conceptualize life and relatedness and solidarity or inclusion and exclusion, but in a way that we just learn from each other. And learning means not only admiring or uncritically accepting, but discussing and being inspired by different ways to see the world. And that again has to do with tolerance and openness, not with uncritical taking over or admiration, but yeah, respecting each other by relating to each other.
Thank you, Professor, for your enlightenment.
Thank you, Professor Judith, for the answer. And I would like to extend my gratitude to all the participants online offline for still with us, and the dean and the vice dean still with us now. And we still have some questions. Before we go to next question, we still have one question given to Ibu Siti Ruhaini. Please, Ibu Siti Ruhaini. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, this is you mean that's the answer from me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I think maybe I can add what Professor Judith had already responding to the questions of Mas Dito in Taipei, related to how science, anthropology, sociology, politics, and also medicine, the medical studies contribute to, of course, the betterments of humankind and the universe. So thank you very much, Ibu Judith, for your the very inspiring and enlightening explanation on things related to philosophical and ontological aspects of what has to be more given more attention in our tangible world today. And also this is very much related to the question of Mas Tito. Now, what is actually our contribution to such a kind of efforts? Yeah. Um, uh, I think I absolutely agree with Ibu Judith in saying that uh, every discipline, every discipline and studies will have their portion and they have their roles in making and overcoming. One is overcoming the problems that we face and also approaching in a different way, but comprehensively it will contribute to the betterment of our times. Yeah. So I may take the example on the pandemic. Um, when we are talking the pandemic, Masjito, it might solely we are talking about medical studies. This is medical science because of the virus on the and the microba and so forth is closely related to the medical studies. But how this but how the virus, for example, to become um, a social problems and as well as the political problem as well, because you know that COVID-19 is now become very complex issue, not only health issue but also political issue, as I mentioned earlier. How Indonesia, for example, encourage the solidarity in the access of vaccine, because of course politically the poor countries will suffer most when the vaccines become industrial goods, commercial goods. So it is therefore, I think, WHO is urged to declare that vaccines is supposed to be a people good, yeah? Because you know that now the virus has become the social and political problem globally. And and the second, when we are facing the issue of a virus, it is not necessarily that it's only related to health issue, but also to religion. Um, uh, as I serve in the office of the president, for example, that the government has been um, understood and has been assumed to be anti-religion when it's come to the way how to overcome the issue of the widespread of the virus, because the government issued the bannings of coming to religious houses like the mosque, the churches. Yeah. But this is it should be understood, not the tendency of the Indonesian governments to prevent people to worship, but since the virus in its own characteristic is very unique in terms of transmission, yeah, or from the virus transmission, which might not be in line with the religious teaching, where we should worship, or we should go for ibadah in the collective way. But in the other hand, the collectivity, I mean the collectivity or the crowds in the view of the virus transmission is not good enough. So that is actually the things that we have to relate, how other science is also very important to give the contribution. For example, anthropology and sociology and of course political science have the explanation and explanation on how religious understanding of collective prayers, yeah, collective prayers is in danger, people, from the virus transmission. And we have to again and again working with MUI, for example, and other mainstream organization to convey the message to the people that the prevention of the government for the people of going to the religious houses like the mosques is not necessarily it's not necessarily banning the ibadah, but this only preventing them to be in the crowd. So and Islam is also having alternative way to conduct the prayer at home, in the family, with the family, or even individual prayer. So that is actually the help of social science and also the anthropology and sociology to explain on how social collectivity and social crowds might be understood in a different way when it's come to certain circumstances as in the pandemic. So this is actually all the things that we have to collaborate in the future in order to overcome all the global issues from religions, anthropology, sociology, and so forth. And the second question posed to me is about the role of mainstream organization in nurturing social solidarity amidst the political polarizations that has been occurring in Indonesia since I think before the election of 2019, and there it is continue as such currently, and now also we are facing the next general elections that many people concerned also about the social divides and social polarization might also happen afterwards. So I think we are lucky to we are lucky to have this moderate mainstream organization as NU and Muhammadiyah, and of course others in working and also in approaching the political issue in a very moderate and a very wise way. So the statement made by the chairpersons of this organization is very important in convincing the people and the society that the religious organization is neutral. The religious organization is apolitical, in order to be the safeguards of the social solidarity and social cohesion. So I think that we as part of the civil society, we are a part of society, and maybe we are also part or member of the civil society organization has continuously encouraged this organization to be in the same manner. Yes, and of course, in the government side, we also prevent any authorities and also politicians and other part of the governments of deliberately using this organization to be the means of political any means of any political interest and any political power. Yeah, so I think this is our common responsibility to ensure that the neutrality and also the impartiality of the mainstream organization to the political, I mean, it's like the political games. So things that that is very important in this regard is how to prevent what the so-called affective polarization have been deeply thorned our society in their very temporarily political games as we have every 5 years. So this is actually our common responsibility to all together to maintain and to protect this organization not to involve in any practical political interest uh, in the next general elections and of course forever, because we have two entities. One is the state and one is the nation. The nation is organized in the civil way. I mean, it organized by the people. It is nurtured by the people, and it is why then the nation has to be civil. Yeah. And the state is, of course, the state is the political entity, and it is organized along the lines with all the political arrangement from a general election and then presidential election and so forth. And this is actually the nature of the government. And we have to be very critical and be very careful in differentiating between the political interest of the state mechanism and the social solidarity in maintaining the nationhood. So that is actually the two separate things that we have to differentiate, but we also have to be in the same in the same pace for the two. So I think the best way to describe is actually differentiate between the state political state mechanism and their civilness of the nationhood, but not separate them. Yeah, so it has to be go all together parallel in the parallel manner, but we have to treat the two entities differently. So I think this is the best way to maintain and nurture social solidarity based on the existence of the mainstream of religious organization in Indonesia. So I hope I respond adequately to the question. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ibu Siti Rohaini, for long explanation of the question. Hopefully, it must be clear for us. Yeah. And now, I forgot to give you the time. Yeah. Now, the question time is for those who come in person here. Yeah. Anybody want to question? Please raise the hand. Yeah. Okay. 1, 2. Okay. Please. Yeah. Can you please mention your name? Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Tes cek cek cek.
Tes, tes. Oh, bisa ya? Udah bisa kah?
Halo, halo. Harus.
Okay, tes. Nah. Okay, thank you for this opportunity. Actually, my English is not good enough, so maybe Pak Andi bisa membantu nanti. I have two questions for Bu Siti Ruhaini. Maybe I want to respond the presentation from Prof. Judith. The first is if we talk about solidarity, we have to understand about inclusivity. No one can be object, or no one can be other. So in Indonesia, as Muslim is majority in Indonesia, and as we know that a majority can make conflict in other country, maybe not only Islam, but whatever kind of majority can build the conflict. But in this time, I don't talk about the conflict, but maybe Bu Siti Ruhaini can tell us about the best practices Islam to build social solidarity. Because to make solidarity, especially in Indonesia, I think we can talk about Indonesia before we see the solidarity in global. What are the best practices Islam make build social solidarity? Because in Indonesia, as we know, and Prof. Judith also said about the intersectionality in Indonesia. We have complex. I think it's a complexity of intersectionality, not only about gender, race, and religion. And in Indonesia, we have, I think, 3 categories religion. We have lived religion, as Prof. Judith say about Nyiblorong and spirituality, and so on. And then we have governed religion, and we have expert religion. Who is the make conflict and who is the make solidarity? I don't know, but we don't talk about that. But what are the best practices Muslim or Islam as a majority in Indonesia about the social solidarity in Indonesia also? It is the first question. And then the second question, I realized Bu Siti present about G20. G20 as a good shape in Indonesia, good practice in Indonesia. But last time, I think 2 days ago, I hear about G20. There are repressive actions for the security government to civic and to activists. Some of my friends in Bali, they stay in homestay, and they have meeting, women summit, and then a youth summit, something like that. And the security and the police came and then did repressive action and forced the activists. So, what kind of good shape from G20? It's to Prof. Siti Ruhaini. And then to Prof. Judith, I think your presentations remind me about my last research with CRCS UGM. It's about human and nature in Indonesia. In context Indonesia, we have, if we talk about the relationship about between human and nature, we don't forget to put the religiosity or spirituality. So in 10 cities in Indonesia, we get that the human and the human they think that nature as God, and God and God include in the nature. So to build the solidarity with nature, I think they always put the spirituality, and yeah, they always talk about how to maintenance nature is about how the ritual the human with the God. I think enough, and thank you, Pak Andi.
The next one, the other one. Yeah.
Excuse me, can you make the question shorter because I have to look it?
Okay. Yeah. Ibu Rohaini, after this question, I will give you the time because you want to go. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I will give you the time after this question. Yeah.
So what is next, Mas Moderator?
Silakan,
Are we,
Mas.
are we responding the question, or we are waiting for the another question?
Just listen to another question, and then I will give you the time. Yeah. Okay,
Okay, thank
please
you
be
for-
concise with
Let's
your
make it,
question.
make it short, please.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very
Gak
much.
apa-apa,
indeed.
kedengaran. Ya, ya.
Thank you very much. Hello, Tess.
Yeah, you may go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for this occasion, Ustadz Andri. One question only to Prof. Judith actually. Me and my student, sorry, my name is Rizal Maulana from a comparative study of religions department, University of Darussalam Guntur. Me and my students are currently researching on anthropocentric perspective of ecological issues. And it seems that your approach is quite different from the conservative, secular anthropocentric perspective of ecology, which it appears to me that your presentation appears to truly support the spiritual, metaphysical elements of the ecological disasters, like you have explained earlier. But my question is there any kind of more concrete effort or attempt in order to resolve this kind of human-centric point of view related to ecological crisis? Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. Yeah, and now, due to the time, we give the first time, to Ibu Siti Rohaini. Yeah. The question is, it's about the best example of social solidarity practiced by Muslim in Indonesia. Yeah. And the second is G20 goes to repressive action to people due to security reasons.
Thank you very much. And my apology, Bu Yudit, that I take the first opportunity to respond to the question. I may start from the last questions on the G20. So I think G20 has so many facets, and my understanding of your question is might be this is a case. It's not the whole range of G20. It's all about the repressions of a case that might have been negotiated in Bali before the G20 meeting started. Yeah. So I think the issue is not the G20. I don't know. I don't know whether you study thoroughly about all the things related to G20. Yeah. But if I understand your question correctly, your concern in how their authority was tackling a case which occurred before the meeting. So I think it is just the matter of the coordination, because it is quite realistic and it is quite plausible that the Indonesian government ensuring that during the G20 meeting, every meeting be political, economic, social, and others, it has been concluded. Yeah, because G20 also giving the civil society forums. Yeah. So I think the issue here is why then it is still there is a forums after the social and civil society forum has been concluded. So this is actually my quick response to your question. I'm sorry because you didn't mention your name, so that I cannot really name you. But I think the issue is just a case related to the activity that it's supposed to be concluded before the G20 meeting is started. Yeah. So my hope that you may understand the whole range of G20, so that it is not misleading when we are talking about G20 and other aspect related to a certain issue. And the second is there is, I think, a very concrete and ample example on how solidarity has been practices in Indonesia. If we don't have the solidarity, I mean, like Indonesia is the majority, the major population in Indonesia. If for example, the Muslim in Indonesia, they don't have such kind of efforts in strengthening the solidarity, I don't think that Indonesia still exists until recently, until today. So the solidarity can be interpreted to many aspects of lives. For example, inclusiveness in terms of religions and gender, and of course, we also now encourage for the inclusivity of people with disabilities to have equal access and getting benefit, the same benefit from development. So that is all the very real example in Indonesia, that the Muslim in Indonesia is put forward to the solidarity amongst the population, then claiming the truth and claiming the authenticity of identity of Indonesia, of being an Islamic state or mostly owned by the Muslim. Yeah. So Pancasila, I think Pancasila reflect the expression and also the common ground of solidarity, and seeing that every religion and every ethnicity, gender, and other social categories are equally represented in their state representations, and also I think it's nation state representation here in Indonesia through their acknowledgement and through the observance of the principle in Pancasila. Yeah. So you may also compare what's happening with other Muslim countries. I am myself is part of the Indonesian Afghanistan Solidarity Network, and it is very difficult up to now, and to convince our fellow Afghan that they should come into the common understanding and common ground of observing a nationhood, which inclusively include all ethnicity lives in Afghanistan. You can imagine we have more than 700 ethnic group here in Indonesia, and hundreds, I think, of belief system, but still we can unite it in solidarity and in harmony. and Afghanistan is only consists of 7 ethnic groups with the same relatively similar religions, but still it is very difficult for them to arrive in their common understanding and common grounds of building nation statehood for the future and the better life of the Afghan. So I think this is my response. So Ibu Judith and also Mas Andri as the moderator. So I apologize that I have to leave earlier because I have other agenda at 4. And of course, I wish you a very constructive outcomes to this conference. And to Ibu Yuti, thank you very much for your very enlightening presentation. And we hope that you will be able to visit your second home here in Indonesia. Okay, thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Ibu Siti Rohani. Please help me to give our best appreciation to Ibu Rohani by give her our warmest applause. Yeah. Thank you very much, Ibu Siti Rohani. Yeah. And now we still have the question for Professor Judith. Due to the time, could you please wrap it up in about 7 minutes, Professor Judith? There are 2 questions to be answered. The first is, in my understanding from Mbak siapa tadi, yeah. Do you ask about how to make spirituality as the main element of solidarity? Yeah. 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 And also the other one, yeah, Pak Rizal, alternative to the anthropocentrism, yeah. Yeah, gitu. Please, Professor Judith.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and it's a pity that Bu Rohani left us, because I think it fits really very well what she elaborated on, and what the people asking questions expect from me, because especially the last one once more asked about concrete action. So what can we do? What should we do when we have an extended awareness of what life is and what our responsibility and our interconnectedness as humans is made about? I will try or do my very best to also integrate another question that I found in the chat, asking, if I got it right, how to find the authenticity of the soul to maintain the spirit. Again, I'm not sure if I got it right, but perhaps I can bring all these questions and interventions together. Because what I wanted to say is that basically we should think in a more ontological or philosophical manner what kind of legitimation we always use, what kind of ideology, what kind of worldview, what kind of understanding of the world and living beings is behind our concrete action. And as I said before already, concrete action is both the individual and the collective action, is both the everyday politics and the governance and the government. I think, or as far as I know, in Indonesia, applied science is taken very seriously, and I completely agree that we always should think of what does it mean for concrete action. We should not do or understand science as l'art pour l'art, just for the sake of science. We should always think of what can be made out of it and what can we learn from it. And in the things that I elaborated about or elaborated on, my main point is that we should think critically of the ontological or philosophical foundation of all, not only religion, but all ideology, of all ideas of the world that is used as a legitimation for action, for concrete engagement, for what we are doing. So we are not just doing things, we do it on the ground of our belief, of our conviction, of our way to conceptualize and to understand the world. So if we go a bit deeper, we might come to the question in the chat, how to find authenticity of the soul to maintain the spirit. I think, or what I wanted to say is that I think there is no authenticity. Authenticity is a fiction, is a construction, is something that is connected with truth claims, with an absolute truth, with something that is seen as natural or real or factual, given thing. Authenticity is something that is made by humans. As anthropologists, we know that there is plurality and there are so many ways to explain what the soul is, to understand, to conceptualize, and also to experience what the soul is. So the soul can be exclusively be conceptualized as the human soul, but it can also be the soul of an entity in a tree, a spirit or a makhluk halus in the landscape, in the mountain, or in the ocean, or in so-called natural beings. And then we have again this transgression. And also coming back to the question about concrete action or the spirit. I don't know what the person asking the question means by the spirit, but I would say the spirit is the spirit of engagement, of doing things. And again, this is not only political activism, and it's not only the government policy. The spirit is just the spirit that keeps us doing things, that keeps us relating to other beings. A conference can be part of it. We discuss with each other, but it can also be that we position ourselves in an open-minded solidarity that takes it serious to discuss not only with like-minded people, for example, in a conference with people who are also academics, but also to relate to and to discuss, or maybe even to struggle or to contest our own conviction by discussing with people who are of a different opinion or different belief system. And social solidarity means this spirit of feeling related and to other minorities of human beings or to other living beings in the environment, and take it serious as an actor, as having agency, and as something or somebody we want to exchange opinions and perhaps also discuss and criticize and respect him or her or it as a real partner in this world, because we are all co-creating this world. We are collaborating and co-creating reality, and reality or the soul is not something which is a given. We are constantly doing it, and while we are doing it, we are contesting it, we are negotiating it, and we know that we can also shape the future in a more sustainable and more equal way. So that is again a bit philosophical, perhaps, but I tried to make you aware of the foundation or the basic of, and also the legitimation that is behind our activities and our activism and our concrete ways of shaping the world and relating to each other. I hope that is a response that has something to do with the questions that you had in mind.
Thank you very much for Professor Judith. We learned a lot from you. Yeah, thank you for sharing your great ideas in this session. Yeah, and so many things we learned about solidarity, and we still have so many questions, but due to the time, yeah, we have limited time, so we cannot go to the next session. Let's give our best appreciation for Professor Judith and also Professor Siti Rohaini by, yeah, and also thank you very much for the Dean, Vice Dean, yeah, the committee, all participants offline and online for your commitment to be with us until the end of the discussion. I hope you all the best, yeah. And we can meet, inshallah, at another time and another occasions. And as a moderator, I want to close this discussion today, and my apology for being maybe something not expected here, yeah. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you also once more from my side, matur nuwun banget atas undangan, and it was a pleasure to have the opportunity to share some thoughts with you. And of course, if you want to send me an email or if you want to meet me, I will be in Jogja by mid-January. So hopefully I can see you then.
Thank you very much, thank you very much, Ibu Judith. Yeah, matur nuwun. See you in Jogja next year probably. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Welcome to Faculty of Social Science and Humanities, State Islamic University, Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta. The Faculty of Social Science and Humanities is one of the favorite faculties at Sunan Kalijaga State Islamic University. This faculty has 3 departments, namely Psychology, Sociology, and Communication Studies. It is one of the general faculties at the university which develop social science and Muslim societies through the lens of Islamic insight. Established in 2005, the faculty has produced outstanding intellectuals and professionals in their fields. Many facilities support student creativity both in the academic and non-academic field, including interactive centers, classroom, psychology reading rooms.
Cek. Terima kasih Pak Andri yang sudah berkenan menjadi moderator. Mohon perhatiannya pada Bapak Ibu semuanya. Mohon izin Pak Dekan, Bu Wede untuk menyampaikan sedikit informasi nje. Pada para peserta yang sudah hadir secara offline di Visum, sebelumnya selamat datang dan terima kasih sudah hadir di sini. Untuk selanjutnya, seperti yang sudah kami informasikan di beberapa waktu lalu, bahwa setelah ini kita akan bersama-sama menuju lokasi penginapan atau hotel, yaitu di Butik Hotel, Jalan Prof. Sunario. Dan untuk Bapak Ibu yang tadi tidak membawa kendaraan, kami sudah sediakan transportasi berupa bis kampus, dan bisnya sudah siap di depan. Jadi untuk Bapak Ibu setelah ini boleh langsung membawa barang-barangnya kembali untuk bersama-sama kita menuju hotel. Langsung saja naik ke bisnya. Dan untuk pembagian kamar nanti akan saya share di WhatsApp group, juga sudah saya sampaikan pada pihak hotel, seperti itu nje. Nanti kalau misalkan ada nama dari Bapak Ibu yang ternyata belum terinput di daftar, boleh langsung disampaikan. Boleh lewat saya langsung atau di grup juga tidak apa-apa. Seperti itu. Baik, terima kasih. Monggo langsung bersama-sama kita menuju ke lokasi.
Recording stopped.